What's happening, everybody? It's your boy God KOZ once again on Uncensored AFTV, and we here spinning the block back on part 2 on the topic sex work. In this one, we will discuss the red light district and how in other governments within other countries have a system already set up in place. But in America, I don't know. That's what we here to talk about, y'all. We got Mariah, we got Konshents. We about to get right back into it. Let's do it. Well, we are back, and you were touching on in relation to should sex work be legalized? Is that what the last thing we got talking about?
Okay, we can, yeah.
Or conscious, no. If you wanted to finish, if you had a thought that you wanted to finish, that you wanted to
I think we kind of agreed pretty much on immigration. We both agree that it should be legalized, but there should be a better process that doesn't exclude people due to the fact that they don't have the financial abilities to be able to handle the process of getting out of country, and have some more consideration to that, so that it's fair, as opposed to only the rich are able to enter the country. So I think we agree on that. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So now let's get, we don't want to segue too much, but it's all in the same category, because I think that'll touch right into like the freeness of sex work and liberalism, kind of go hand in hand. But anyways, yeah. I know it's conscious that you had a question that you wanted to touch into.
Getting into the big thing was about asking, should sex work be an industry, a legitimate industry, no longer hidden in the shadows, and why?
Well, sex work should be legalized. Prostitution should be legalized, because here's a number of different things. It stops criminalizing the prostitutes. It stops prosecuting the Johns, which lowers on our court docket, which saves us money. It stimulates the economy, creates more jobs, cuts down on STDs, lowers on human trafficking. Okay. And then you're also looking at giving them benefits, right? Giving them a safe space to work, right? And making sure that everybody maintains a safer element and a part of this, because the way these girls are going out and going about this, you don't know the level of safety that you actually maintain going to meet a stranger, right?
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, we don't see a lot of media coverage on women that die from that type of work. Because there's a stigma that these people are objects and not human beings.
So they don't.
But these people have complex identities, lives, their sisters, mothers, daughters. And I think that it is our job to protect them. So why not give them a safe space to do it?
I dig it.
What qualifies like a sex worker? Like, what is the qualifications of a person who's sex working? Like, obviously we would do array of different things that lead up to it, but like, does it mean you have like, you just, it's like, hey, I want to just be free with my body now, and now I'm just going to go right into it?
So I want to chime in on that only because like when I was in Singapore, like I said, they had it legalized, and just like coming over as a musician to perform over in Singapore, you had to go get basically a green card, visa, or whatever to be able to do that. There were women also standing in the same line to get their card for prostitution, you know. So with that also comes everybody who did that, musician or whoever, you also had to go to the hospital for them to do a full body checkup of you to see what's your health like, because in the end, they don't want you entering into an industry that also kind of creates tourism. Because think about it, red light districts are not available everywhere. So the places that have them creates a tourist attraction, but you don't want tourists coming over as, you know, vice versa, bringing or coming and having a sexually transmitted disease. You know what I'm saying? So basically the women and, you know, all had to be checked up. You know, it was like a healthcare situation where you had to go to the hospital, whatever shots, whatever you needed, got it, and then you were out there. So I think I don't think it should just be any and everybody. It's sort of the same idea as legalize marijuana. You can sell at a dispensary, but there's still going to be some people who sell it out the back of their house. You know what I'm saying? But that's you taking a risk that you may not need to. So I do think there should be some type of regulations about the industry that not any and everybody that just up and say I'm going to do it just can freelance. So that's just my thoughts.
Okay. Okay. So let's go right into some of the things that we don't really discuss. What do you feel pushes a person into sex work?
Well, oftentimes we listen to our influences, right? Yeah. So you glamorize in our community that a come up can be trapping, balling, rapping, whatever the case may be. But for these women who don't have any of these culpable skills, what is the way out?
That, yeah, I guess that puts it in perspective. Because in the end, when you're in the hood, the trap or whatever, or feel disenfranchised, it doesn't even have to be a hood. There are only a few things that you can do to make money quickly. Obviously, you can go to school and get a degree and whatever, but all of that is a process. But if you need rent tomorrow, some dudes go out and sell. Women, I feel like they're almost like one and the same. I guess that's why they you know, because I don't know. Although glamorization is real, because I was going to say, I don't know anybody who wakes up and just say, yeah, I want to go out and sell drugs. But as music and other influences continue to push the idea, maybe some people do think, yeah, I want to go out and sell, you know, sex or sell drugs because it sounds cool, because I just heard it on my favorite artist song and they made it seem like it'd be a fun thing to do. Meaning like what you spoke of before, you got to go put a butt plug in and do some wild stuff for somebody. It's not as glamorized because that's a whole different staunch reality as opposed to what it sounds like in a 3-minute song. So, you know what I mean? I think it's going, I think the culture that we are creating, or I'll say the culture that's being thrusted upon us, is starting to, or has always been kind of, I feel like, pushing the numbers of quote unquote drug dealer gangsters, as well as pushing the number of women that are getting more willing to do sex work. But that's just my opinion.
So I'm going to rip the Band-Aid right off and say, should men even want to entertain sex workers outside of the idea of sex work? Right? Like, should I think about marrying you? Should I think about taking you serious? Should I even care what you got to say at all? Because, as you say, there's in the story, it's a finessing is, you know, you got your man for this, you got your man for that. Women got they, you know what I mean? Men got their women for whatever they feel like is necessary. So if they end up meeting a sex worker and they find themselves attracted to them, but that's their occupation, is just to be free with themselves. And I guess you could say free with themselves, but based off circumstance, should they focus on even wanting to be married in the first place? Could you marry a sex worker? Is it even one?
I think that from my own experience, I soloed on the platform because I knew that if I did anything more than that, I would never have a sustainable relationship. Okay? So from my perspective, if you were going to be in that industry, get big, or maintain a life in that industry, you're going to have to be with somebody who's also in the industry. Every now and then you're going to meet a guy that's going to be like, hey, baby, you're ran through. That's fine with me. Or tell me about it. Or he likes a cock, or whatever his weird fetish is.
Yeah,
you know what the case is? You know what I'm saying? But for the majority of men, they don't want to hear it. Like, I have talked to men. They're like, oh no, I can't deal with you. I can't talk to you because you've been on that platform. But I have men, they're like, oh, you just soloed. That's fine, whatever, you know what the case may be. That's a matter of perspective. You can't say what it's different strokes for different folks, okay? You don't know.
No pun intended.
I know, right?
All pun intended, right?
Go ahead, Con. I know you have.
No, I was just gonna say I think you killed it on the answer, because a lot of times in some questions there is an air of generalization, and when you dissect it, it really is a case by case basis. Though if we wanted to generalize the idea, yeah, most men wouldn't. But is there someone that would? Yeah, there's somebody out there that would. Matter of fact, what's her name? What is her name? She is a porn star. And she wants all her videos taken down. I can't remember. It's like a movement, and it's like certain stars are now getting married or got married. I think 2 of them got married, and they're now trying to petition for all their videos to be taken down. But they were big. Like, she was like #1 in the industry at one time, and it's kind of like you got tons of material and other bootleg versions of the material. I think that's a lost cause. But getting in back to the idea, somebody who knew who she was obviously married her. So I guess it is different strokes for different folks.
You can't spell housewife without hoe.
Yeah, I think every housewife, just a little bit in it, just a little bit of, at least it's a personal thing. Long as she's personally towards you, 'cause there's that idea. I don't think you can be a freak without being a hoe. So
I know. It was just a joke.
Yeah. I got you.
So, in all honesty, then it is what we're saying is that in this day and era, that it should be accepted that if a person is open to their free-form sexuality, especially when it comes to women, because men, we can't really speak on men, right? Men gonna do what they want to do unless they kind of like Sims, or incels, what we consider incels, right? But in reality, the stigma and the shamefulness comes on women because the value is in the woman, right? We see is the quintessential you already built to be desired. And once you start tarnishing yourself by way of letting people in you, and then you have, I guess, body count, that's a thing in social media. And it becomes...
Could we expand it? Because I want to ask a question. I know we touched previously about religion being the reason why there's a restriction in sexuality, but I will ask, do you feel that, like, let's say, okay, for me, speaking from my perspective, though I still hold sex in a high regard, so I guess I could be a little bit different, but I know that when I was younger, as a younger guy, the chance or opportunity to connect with a woman in sex was like on the Notebook, some romantic, oh my goodness, this is the moment type energy, where I'm at, in my life, sex is still a spiritual connection because we're in agreement to connect, and I revel in it and I appreciate it, but it's not the same feeling that the sky was opening up and this was the moment like it was. So I guess what I'm asking is, do you think body count matters beyond religion? Meaning, like, when 2 people get together, do you think lower body counts build better bonds? Do you think it matters or it don't?
If I tell you I slept with too many people, you think I'm for everybody. If I tell you I slept with too low of people, you wonder what's wrong with me. If I tell you it's a dynamic that it's a lose-lose.
I think it's a different strokes for different folks on that one, because as far as a guy, for me, too little,
I don't have no
Yeah,
problem.
it's not too late. Though virgin, I will say if you're a virgin and I know I'm bullshitting, like I'm just trying to get some sex, I'm not gonna mess with you. Only because that's not me. Meaning like you've been kept and you've kept yourself, and I know that I'm not here to marry you, so I'm gonna leave you on the shelf that you're on because you know what I'm saying. But normally low body count is guys who feel some type of way about that. There's something wrong with those guys to me. Like when they say like she ain't, you know, she only been with two people, or she, any guy who feels like that, I would have to
I think
question that dude.
you might be a nymphomaniac or something. But it's
Yeah.
well, and in any case, well, not
I
well, go ahead.
knew a guy who was ethically non-monogamous who wanted to hear about his girl getting ran through. Right? Different strokes for different folks.
And I would agree. I was going to say there's some men.
And he was not for me because I was not getting ran through.
Wow.
No, the main thing I would say is that, you know,
If you don't get help at charter, whoever that guy is, he need to get help somewhere. What?
What I was going to say was the fact that some men are lacking. Like I said, there's incel. There's men who have never seen vagina in their life, and they may praise a woman who can open them up to that realm and really be full on. You know, I guess you could call it debaucherous. You know what I mean? However you want to see it. You know, they want that experience. You know, it's usually those like people who's like.
But that seems fetish more than it seems. Like, for example, like if you've watched a porn star, now being a girlfriend, you know, that's a, even that is a commitment. But let's just say you've seen a porn star that you might have fantasized about. Obviously, if you're watching them in you're clearly fantasizing about them. I can see it being fetishized, that you're enthralled with the skills and thing, you know what I'm saying, because of your own personal sexual connection to their videos. And but overall, like wanting to know about your girlfriend being railed, it takes you're a different kind. Yeah. And that is a different type of person. Yeah, that yeah, that's wild.
The worst part is like he put me on the spot the first time he told me, so I just made up a story.
That leads into lies and deception.
I couldn't help it. He was like, tell me a story, and I was like, fuck. Okay.
So did he
once upon a time
at band camp?
At band camp. So did he seem so when you were telling him the story, was it something that did he seem angry in any way? Was it just like
he was just
blissful about it and interested?
He was aroused.
Damn, them honkies gonna be running for cover when us brothers get.
Yeah, psychologically that.
Yeah.
I'm normally one who doesn't. Everybody has a perspective, and there's no right or wrong perspective. There's just everybody's got a different perspective. But that perspective is that, yeah. Why would you?
I don't understand what made him tick.
Is it competitive?
I don't know.
You know, like you hear about it, so you trying to outshine.
I don't know what that psychological, like, I don't know. I always ask this question, what happened here?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I didn't really ask. Okay. Hey, by the way, now that that's all over, why?
Like, well,
okay.
I guess because I want to get that rock off. But in any case, I know Khan has some more questions. I want to get to the idea of where should we take this? Like, should we just be, as men, really coming from a woman who's, I guess idly been in the practice and not full on.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you're not okay. So some people wear it like a badge in the idea of what's the word I'm looking for? Like you had a plan, an idea, you had boundaries on how far you know what I'm saying, you made a decision. It's almost like some people being like, listen, I smoke weed, so I'm gonna sell weed, but I ain't gonna sell coke because I don't believe in selling coke. You know what I'm saying? It's like every got their own boundaries in the game. So that means you did think about a life after, meaning relationship life and love life afterwards, which is commendable, because if you got to go and this is what you got to do, it is what you got to do, but still having a boundary because you want a better life later shows foresight, which I think in this era of getting the bag is it's lost. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you offer 10,000 to do whatever, why you ain't gonna take 10,000? You know what I'm saying? It's like because I have certain standards.
Here's my thing: as I'm watching these girls, they're going out, they're making their meals, they're going out and buying lavish cars, lavish houses, lavish shit. You see them on Instagram. 200,000 men bought me this house, right? Whatever the case may be. You are not going to be 24 forever. That money is going to run out. And if you are not financially planning for what the future is, you are going to have done all of it for not a thing. And
you need a 401k.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is a business, a financial planner for sex workers, because they are definitely probably not planning financially on. You got to have an exit strategy. You can't do this forever.
Right.
So who is willing to work with them as far as helping them build a financial, that might be a business. Because I just like trappers, you can't trap forever, bro. Eventually you're gonna get knocked. It's just a matter of time before something happens. So what's the exit strategy? You know what I'm saying? So I think that is one of my caveats to why I say, legalization great, but there is still a lot of education that would have to go into said industry. I mean, sounding like a course, right? You go to college for
and then that leads into, when does this become something that is spoken on? Because obviously there's a gray area in between where somebody's being promiscuous and the next thing you know, they're like down on their luck because they've been promiscuous, or they're not being chosen. I mean, and we're talking about females. It's men. I don't see male. I wouldn't even want to look for male sex workers. But in the idea of, is there a time limit? Do you start? Do you finish? What age? When do you become aware of something without being propagated to it? Because obviously there's young girls that in this era, they're going to think that's what it is. You know what I mean? They got WAPs, they got this, they got that.
Yeah.
They don't even see it as sex work. They see it as, this is
it
the
just
way.
is. You know what I mean? I'm just finessing for some money. It is what it is.
Yep. You think it hasn't been happening? I remember watching Big Papa, right? With Biggie. I was a little girl. I saw all the girls in the hot tub sitting around him, right? I was like, I want to be one of those girls. Why?
That was more of a vixen, like, you know what I
mean? But
you're right. The term changed, but it's the same idea. We called them vixens video vixens back then, but they could have been OF in the same way. So it's like you're saying that the influence has been happening since Biggie, since before then, right?
Right. It's not just a new concept.
Oh no.
Right? So I mean, I was listening to, I played 2 Live Crew the other day. Pop That Pussy. Right? That song's from.
But they were banned. They were banned. The FCC banned in the USA. So 2 Live Crew, they kind of. I don't even want to know. They were pioneers, but were they pioneers for the right thing? Because them fighting that suit, them and Uncle Luke fighting for this freedom of speech in music opened up the door for the Trinas, for every other thing that came forward, and was Little Kim and people who could take advantage of them breaking down the door of being able to be lewd in videos. So it's like, do we celebrate it or do we go like, that might have been where we should chill?
That society has evolved so women do not have to be sexually repressed or sexually or repressed. Yeah, that's a thing to be celebrated. Okay. Why would it not be, right? We've been told since we were little girls not to be these sexual creatures, and then wonder why we are sexually repressive through adulthood, right? So in that is something to be celebrated. Now, I am not judging anybody based on the number of partners they have, what they do. I know what I do in my personal life and my business, okay? I'm not judging anybody. But you have to know there's a repercussion to your action no matter what.
That's all that for me is the biggest accountability for the fact of what I chose. I know there are consequences. Same for the trap guy. If he trapping and something happened, no one's gonna cry for the fact, maybe it's homies, but you get what I'm saying. Most people see he was a drug dealer. This kind of was inevitable. You know what I'm saying? In the same regard, there's certain consequences for that line of work as well. So long as you're willing to take accountability for like, hey, consequences come, then yeah, live your life. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and do your thing, I guess.
Yeah, I am grateful for the fact that we was able to have this, because it alleviates a lot of the post thoughts the preconceived notions and the preconceived questions that you would have. You've done a great job at like expressing and like consolidating without having to ask so many questions that I even had myself. Like, should men be open to sex work and to marry? I asked that already, but can OnlyFans models be legitimate sex workers? Are they serious sex workers, or are they just like, voyeurs? So we answered a good bit. And
it's like, yay, if they don't use a strap on, they're not dykes.
They're not dykes, right? Yeah, they're not. Yeah. They just be rock, paper, scissors. What is the goal of a sex worker?
Is that
I think in their mind it creates financial freedom, but a lot of people in that industry on that platform are unsuccessful because you have to look at yourself and like really think what kind of market you would be tailored to. And I think a lot of people miss their market.
Now, you being a social marketing influencer, and you majored in it, correct?
Yes.
I guess you already had an insight on, how I'm going to sell myself, how I'm going to end out, and you grew a platform. How could you inspire other women to be able to like move in that direction as well?
Honestly, be authentic to yourself. Like, you just have to, like, if you're going to build a platform, you have to recognize patterns and algorithms, right? But beyond that, right, the highest frequency that you can have is authenticity. And people want to see authentic people they can relate to. And from a social media stance, from a marketing stance, you either want to see something so exquisite it's unattainable, right? We think about the Kardashians, rappers, you get people like that. Or we see something so relatable we can't help but laugh, right? Mm-hmm. Or understand or cry. So it's about relatability, right? So just be yourself. You just have to be who you are and own all the things that you did. And I just started telling my story and started living my truth and telling the parts where I fucked up and I was a bad person and I did things that I wasn't necessarily proud of.
Wow. That, hey.
She's an accountable woman.
Again,
So like I said, she
Hand
answered
clap. A hand clap.
a lot of the shutting down of the narrative that you have in your mind already as a person, as a male, really. Khan, if you have any questions, man.
I would like to say, the things that you were saying, definitely, for me, we're in an age where spirituality is big, and I think, a lot of times spirituality is boxed in too much when it's a real simple concept. And the reason why I mention it is because that's basically what you're speaking on. When you look within self, see the things that self done, accept it, you know what I'm saying, and be able to move forward and take your own self as a whole person, like the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the unlovely, all of it. I'm me, I'm completely. That's a spiritual journey in itself, and a lot of people are very afraid to go on that journey, which is why when we talk about, we say the word accountability, people who take accountability. But yeah, I think that is very commendable, to be someone who, no matter what I've done, I'm either okay with me or working on being okay with me, and here I am, you know what I mean? So I like that. And the final thing I want to say on the sex industry is that I think that, yeah, it's not going anywhere. I didn't want to talk about how it's bad versus a religious view, because obviously we always talk about it from a relationship standpoint, never from an industry standalone. You know what I'm saying? We don't say you're a doctor and what about your love life? We say what is sex work and what about your love life? So obviously they do intertwine, but taking it from the approach of just talking about it as an industry and looking at it that it's not going anywhere. It's a tale old as time. And the best thing I think we can do is make it, I would say legal, look at me on here saying legal, but make it legal only because it offers protections to the people that's going to do it, because people are going to do it. It's the same way as rolling up and smoking a J. As it was criminal, but now because in the end, sex is therapeutic. Let's not get it twisted. Sex has been put in such a vulgar light, but back in a time where there were devadashis and there was sex that took the war out of men. When men come from home from war, they have the war in them. There were a group of women, devadashis and different ones, who took the war out of men before they re-entered the village, meaning calm their spirit, chill their soul, sit and chill out with some feminine energy and take the fighter out before you reintroduce in the village. And there was traditions of doing that, and that would be the beginning of the prostitution. What we call prostitution now had a higher regard back in the days, because they were doing it for a spiritual purpose as opposed to trying to obtain funds. But either way, the point is it ain't going nowhere. And I think the best thing we can do, just like the marijuana industry, is legalize it and find ways to make it safer so that it's not in the wrong hands. People don't have to advertise on things that children can get their hands on because they're off and apart in adult areas as they should be. So yeah, but that's it for me.
Okay. And what about you, opinion right there? Any final words? We're at 2 minute mark. So.
I think as far as what he was touching base on, I would have to agree that I think prostitution should be legalized, because not everybody, in my experience and working on the platform and experiencing humanity in that light, not everybody has someone, okay? And this would really just revolutionize the way that we look at sex workers and the opportunities they have and the protections they have.
Absolutely.
All right. So, for the moment, if you guys want to share, your social medias where they can find y'all. I hate to wrap it like this because
you can find me at Elza Mental Konshents or Konshents1, like the name in the bottom of the screen, Konshents, Konshents, numeral 1 on Instagram.
What about you?
And I'm Mariah Hardcore with 2 H's.
Right.
And I am God KOZ. Y'all can find me in there. The real God KOZ, or as well as Elza Mental _ God KOZ. And this was a great segment. I know we got less than a little bit of time, so I'm going to wrap it up right here. And I want these two to come back next time. And we're going to finish a lot on the topic and maybe discuss a little bit on liberalism and conservatism of reality that we're living in right now. And so with that being said, I am honored to have these two. And we're out of here, y'all.
Peace.
Bye.
Battlefield in your brainwaves. I know you're real, but it's still vague. Wanna feel more than a great shape when we get to plug in the wondrous energy that physically put us in and others in a deep. Frankly, you swim good cause the ocean's full of memory. Hard drive from broken, the inner piece is what I wish it could be. But a mind's on the feed, so it ain't on me. Keep a yachty in the CC with C notes falling like a speedboat on the high seas. Caught a wave when she stood right beside me. It got tribal when she started grinding. Looking down, don't know where the time went cause it's out of space, but I wanna be inside it for the moment. Have me on some of my life shit. But the sparks falling in the dust.